Welcome to Radio KD8 TTE's 2021 Training Year in Review. We're not even going to review everything. We're going to hit just the highlights. Fasten your seatbelt, though, because this was a big year. We're going to do a quick recap of where we were at the start of the year, go from there to our participation in the Mars COMEX 21-1. From there, we'll go into NVIS Day in April, the Weather Alert Project that started in May, Field Day in June. In July, we bid farewell to the Buckeye Net's mixed mode and started the BLACK SWAN Training Net. We then continued with some operations. Those were New Yorker in August, asynchronous collaboration in August and September, and of course, Black Swan in September and October. We followed through with the Black Swan Improvement Plan and went through some fundamentals to get things wrapped up for the year. Ready? Stick around.
Black Swan, Black Swan.
All right, where we started in January, I was called up for special assignment. I was pretty much out of commission for most of the first quarter. We did have a core of operators, though, that were able to continue the work that we had undertaken in 2020. And so we were able to center that around our Buckeye Net mixed mode operation. The Buckeye Net mixed mode experiment came about when, after seeing the operation of the Black Swan communication exercise for a couple of years, the Buckeye Net early session manager Steve Judd, WB8YLO, developed a concept that was able to look at the needs that we saw and find a way to make the pieces work together. Fundamentally, it was going to be a net that was controlled by voice that would pass traffic through digital means, allowing for not only word for word and letter for letter kind of accuracy, but also punctuation mark for punctuation mark, space for space, mixed capitalization, and other kinds of needs that emerged with the rise of the need to move data from one place to another. We were looking to serve the needs of ARES stations that were in emergency or post-disaster style operation. We wanted to connect to ARES throughout Ohio to use NTS to connect the system beyond the reach of Buckeye Net. We were operating on 5 megahertz because that not only provided us the best propagation for in-state operations during the day, but it also afforded us the ability to reach out to U.S. government stations for interoperability. That is the point of the amateur's secondary allocation on 5 megahertz. In the Black Swan 20 exercise, we did actually use it, as we had several years before, and we wanted to continue that operation. This net design and the successes that we saw with it were able to show a solution to a problem. That problem had been identified by what the American Radio Relay League, the ARRL, calls a served agency. That served agency being the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA. The idea was that in the loss of infrastructure, FEMA still needs to be able to get messages around, and the FEMA Integrated Public Alert and Warning System, IPAWS, research and development team joined Black Swan 20 in order to test how we were able to move those messages. So here we were in January of 2021, operating regular sessions on NTS Cycle 2. Buckeye Net Mixed was the only traffic net in Ohio that was operating on NTS Cycle 2. This operation that took place at 1300 daily ensured that we were filling a gap and not competing with other operations for NTS, and that also kept us from competing for operators. So we were trying to complement the system rather than to compete with what was already there. We were capable for ARES, NTS, or government messaging needs, and we were continuing to look for integration into the Ohio Section NTS and the Ohio Section ARES programs. Along came the Mars COMEX 21-1. The Military Auxiliary Radio System was interested in conducting operations not only for having Mars stations to talk to one another, but for Mars stations to reach out to other services, including amateur radio. That meant interoperation on the 5 megahertz channels, and that was going to provide an opportunity for us to continue the work that we were doing in our exercises here in Ohio with the Mars stations. That exercise was in February of 2021, and we were able to see how that was able to work very nicely when Mars stations needed to get work done. Amateur stations were there to support them and make sure that those jobs got done effectively. From there, we go on to NVIS Day 21. Every year, the ARRL Ohio section holds an on-air event known as NVIS Day. Operators are encouraged to get into the field and try various antenna systems designed to work reliably for short and medium-range communications without repeaters, without towers, or any of the fancy stuff that supports normal communications. The Weather Alert Project began in May. Our work with IPAWS in Black Swan 20 showed us modern alerting and the need for handling digital relay of data. Conveniently, the National Weather Service issues its alerts in the Common Alerting Protocol CAP standard, including details like the area for the alert and the information on the severity, urgency, and certainty of the alert. That will affect how to order and to process the messages when circuits are busy and when there's contention for airtime. We are currently handling alerts for 11 states. We have originated over 36,000 alerts with precedence, routing, and complete CAP data included in the messages. Our tests have shown the ability to move them through a process of relays that includes HF links in a way that is able to get the messages where they need to go. This work led to the discussion of precedence in Radio KD8 TTE episode 40 and the development of precedence handling in the open source WinLink software, PAT. And of course, in June, we have Field Day. Field Day has a system of scoring, and it gets a lot of attention from the contesters, which is just fine. But it is an emergency communications exercise if you make the most of it. Think about it. You're not only out there in the field making contacts, but you are doing so in a way that is going to show others what you're doing. You get points for having emergency managers out there, and you are also performing some of the tasks that you would need to do in the event of an emergency. In July, we bid farewell to the Buckeye Net mixed mode, and we replaced that operation with the Black Swan Training Net. We organized afresh, looking specifically at how to address real-world agency needs directly. Our reconfiguration meant that we were looking at AUXCOMM, being able to work directly for the agencies with volunteers working for the agencies, able to make use of this system of message interchange. The information on the net is now available on the www.blackswancomx.org website, where we have information about the net, how to use it, as well as activation notices so you'll know how the net is in use at any time. We put the Black Swan Net to work right away in August with Exercise New Yorker. A communication exercise for a state agency, New Yorker gave volunteer amateur station operators a chance to experience some of things like the spikes and lulls that take place in real-world kind of activity. When there is an emergency that requires those communications, it's not always going to be a steady stream of messages that needs to go. New Yorker was a way to give everyone a chance to see how that would work and to learn from that experience. With the asynchronous collaboration exercise in August and September, we built a model where stations could maintain schedules for watch with relatively low demand, and were able to move into higher intensity operations as messages regarding the status of events would require. This exercise ran over the course of several weeks in August and September, ultimately coinciding with an agency's full-scale exercise. Asynchronous collaboration participants simply moved messages as they were directed, and those messages were used by an agency as part of their exercise. The fifth in the series of Black Swan communication exercises began at the end of September and continued into October. Focusing our attention on critical messaging tasks, we were able to test the readiness for working in the model of a statewide system of AUXCOMM stations. An after-action report improvement plan was published and discussed in Radio KD8 TTE episode 34. The improvement plan set forth several actions that we needed to undertake for a state agency leading the effort. Following up with that improvement plan, we finished up the year dealing with some fundamentals. We addressed critical concepts like message encapsulation and some encouragement on how to get started in message origination with the Your First Radiogram video. I did get some radiograms as a result of that, so thank you for your participation. So, looking forward to 2022, we'll be continuing the efforts that we've undertaken. We've got several of them, and everything works together and on a regular schedule, so here it is. Number 1, the training week begins on Tuesday, by which time we've got a new video for the week that has been released. Be sure to subscribe to this channel and to hit your notification bell to make sure that you don't miss any of those videos. On Tuesday, we post a message to the QTC mailing list. There will be a link below. We provide some training objectives for the week, or maybe just a discussion training topic. We have several days to discuss the training issues that we set forth on the Tuesday message before we actually try anything on air. The QSP newsletter is in continuous operation, and we receive submissions throughout the week by WinLink, NTS, and the Packet Radio gateways. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, we conduct on-air operations with the Black Swan Training Net. Weekend sessions are at 1300 Ohio time on 5 megahertz, and the Monday session finishes up the series on 80 meters in the amateur spectrum, of course, and that is at 1900 Monday. Ohio operators will particularly benefit, but you don't need to be in Ohio to get something out of this training. Only the Black Swan Net is going to be relatively local to Ohio. Everything else you're able to get from wherever you happen to be. So if you are interested in training with us, but you're not from the area, let us know. If you want to be able to work in the style of the Black Swan Nets, we can coordinate with you. We can conduct exercises at similar complementary times. We can also exchange information about how we operate, the standards that we use, and the training materials that we use. In any case, we are happy to work with you in order to advance your organization or your section's capability for being able to perform critical messaging tasks, being able to work in an emergency, and helping to secure and to provide resilience in your own communities. That's what we've got for the year. Looking forward to 2022. Thank you very much for following. Again, subscribe, like, and share the video with anyone who might benefit. We look forward to seeing you soon. This is Radio KD8 TTE, out.